Yeah, well, tracking things underwater is really hard because you can't use any electromagnetic sensing. Electromagnetic fields don't propagate far underwater; they get absorbed. So so we're pretty much stuck with sonar. You have to use sonar where you bounce sound waves off of it. So if the object's moving very fast away from you, faster than the speed of sound, then you aren't going to be able to hit it with sound waves. So you can't measure it that way. Um, there have been a few cases where they've been detected with sonar, and in one case I know the object got up to speeds of about 3,000 miles an hour underwater. So it doesn't appear that it appears that you have a situation where, and when objects go from air to water, they barely slow down or don't slow down at all, sometimes even speed up. So just like they don't create sonic booms or you have fireballs in the air, it acts like it's not interacting with the air. When they go into water, it almost acts like they're not interacting with the water. But then the question comes up as to why would sonar work then? If the object is moving through water and not interacting with the water, then sonar shouldn't work. You shouldn't be able to bounce sound waves off of it. So what's going on? And I don't think that anybody has an answer at this point. We really don't understand how you can not make sonic booms or fireballs when going through the air at 40,000 miles an hour, or traveling a few thousand miles underwater and not creating waves or anything. This would be a big problem. So we don't really understand what's happening, and the fact that we don't understand it leads a lot of people to think that the data has to be wrong. This all has to be nonsense because that's not possible. But I don't think that all the data is wrong. I think we have a lot of data at this point, a lot of multiple sources of data with eyewitnesses at the same time. It all corroborates, and it just doesn't agree with what we understand. But I think there's a lack in our understanding.
Maybe I'm curious about this point when you speculate about this functionality, the feature and intelligence that you saw. Do you think it's about the shape of the craft, like the UFO? And is it the material? What is of the energy? When you see about the key factors that form the physics, like or design engineering, when you speculate about that, do you think it's a material that these craft use, or geometry, or the energy they use? What it is?
Well, I think it could be a little of all of the features, because usually when you're engineering, you have to tweak all of those features. So it probably is. I don't think there's a single answer as to what's happening, but and we certainly don't know what that is at this point. So it's hard to speculate. The amount, you can estimate the amounts of energy involved, and in all cases, the amounts of energy are phenomenal. So the maneuvers that the Tic Tacs were making in the 2004 Nimitz encounter required about 1,000 gigawatts of power, which was more than the nuclear power output of the United States. So this one little craft, 40 feet across long, was producing more power than the entire nuclear power output of the United States. So again, you have to worry, how does that happen, right? And when it stops moving, that energy had to go somewhere. So where did all that energy go? There should have been an explosion. If it just stops, that energy has to go somewhere. But we can't explain that either. So there's a lot we can't explain. And that's what makes these things really, truly anomalous. So you're left with a situation, either it's really anomalous to the point where we can't explain any aspect of it, or we are so wrong in our data collection that the errors are almost unthinkable as well. So, because you have to think, how off would you have to be? How off would you have to be to get this to happen? And you would have to be so far off that you would just claim that radar just doesn't work.
Maybe the repeatability to make sure that data is accurate. I'm not sure how do you verify that this is not maybe malfunction in the radar system. I'm just how to ensure that.
That's a really important question, worrying about how your data is accurate. So one way to handle that is to use multiple instruments, different types of instruments, right? Measure different aspects. And so you can use multiple radar systems at the same time. You can get infrared imagery and visual imagery from multiple angles with multiple cameras. You try to do things like that. And that's what we try to do at UAPX. And I know the other efforts to collect data are also doing similar things. Other groups like the Galileo Project or IFEX in Germany, they're planning on using multiple instruments. So, and that reduces the possibility of error and makes you more confident in your data. So, but now the trick is to find a UFO and to actually collect that data, and that's hard to do.
Yeah, and that's the part I want. Why sometimes it's hard to spot it? Like it's not that frequent. Maybe that first question. And of course, from a physics point of view, do you think it could be something? Again, it's just a speculation. It's a natural phenomena or just a non-human intelligence. I know this is something we can't answer, but when you speculate about the frequency this phenomena happen, do you likely just maybe that's non-human intelligence or maybe natural phenomena that we don't know, like a black hole, the things that we don't know anything about?
Yeah, well, I mean, that certainly you have both possibilities of it being, natural phenomena or non-human craft or even human craft. You have all those possibilities. And it's hard to know what the frequency is. We don't know how many, non-human craft are operating on Earth at any time. So it's hard to estimate what the frequency would be. You can get some idea by looking at the frequency of observed objects that haven't been identified. So that helps you better get the frequency. But it seems like what you really need to do is find a place where they're observed more frequently than other places. And these are often sites having to do with the oceans. So off the coast of Catalina Island in Southern California, which is where we went and took our measurements, is one place. Off the northern coast of Puerto Rico, UFOs are often seen. Off the coast of Long Island in New York, off the coast of Wales, and there's places in Australia as well. And so probably setting up equipment in a place where UFOs are more commonly seen and just collecting data over a long period would be a smart thing to do, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I'm curious about the UBX so far data. Can you tell me like how the data looks like, or there's spotting anything? I'm just if you can share it about what is going on at UBX now.
So far we've really gone on one mission, and that was to Southern California in what was it, 2022, I think it was. All my dates are a blur since COVID. I can't ever get the year right around COVID for some reason. Probably not surprising. So that was around, so we went to Southern California there. That was all documented in A Tear in the Sky, the documentary. You can see that on Amazon.com, and it's probably elsewhere free at this point. And we recorded mostly infrared video there. We had some visible camera videos, and with the UFO DAP system, which is a system that has two cameras in it, one with a fisheye lens that just watches the sky, and then it has some machine learning algorithms that are running. So if there's anything interesting, it focuses another camera to look at it and take pictures or take videos. And so we use that. We also used a thing called the Cosmic Watch, which is made by MIT. It's a particle detector that's used for radiation detection. So we recorded from that too. So that's basically what our data consisted of. If you watch the movie, okay, so here's a few spoilers that you won't get in the movie. So in the movie, the team, the first thing that was seen is the team, and there was a team on Catalina Island, and then there was a team on the mainland in Laguna Beach. Most of us were on Laguna Beach. And the team in Catalina spotted a bright white light that was moving very slowly across the sky and very bright. And they identified that they couldn't identify it as a plane. It wasn't a plane. So they contacted us. And then at one point, this light disappears. And in the movie, there's a lot of excitement about this. And yes, it was great fun. What you get to see in the movie is all of our excitement and doing this for the first time, which is probably the best thing to get from the movie. But that turned out to be the space station. We had an app on our phone to identify the space station, but the app had an error in it and it didn't take into account daylight savings time, so it was off by an hour. And so we didn't recognize it as the space station right away. It was later, it was Professor Matthew Shadagas identified it as the space station, and he's correct about that. We took the videos that we saw. He took the videos we saw. He measured the pixel size, and then he used the distance to the unknown distance to the space station to figure out how big the space station would be. And he got something like 111 feet across, and it's about 110 feet. So he was right on, estimated the size of it almost perfectly. So we're confident that's what that was. So the most mysterious thing that we recorded during that trip was the hole in the clouds with the white. There were several. I count about 50 white dots inside this hole in the clouds that appeared. Unfortunately, our infrared cameras had all been unplugged earlier when the film crew left for the night. This was at 4 a.m. when that happened. They were unplugged around 10 p.m. and the batteries all died by 3 a.m. So we didn't actually get infrared video of this hole, which would have been really valuable actually. We instead recorded it with the UFO DAP system, which was still running. So we got 10 seconds of video or something like this, which was maybe 13 seconds of video, which was not incredibly useful, but in figuring out what this was. But there were also, at the same time, were some high energy particles detected with the Cosmic Watch. So we still think that was rather anomalous. We don't know what was all going on there. And unfortunately, we were able to get radar data from nearby weather radar stations. And radar data shows that something was going on in that area, but it's hard to assess precisely what that is. So we believe something was happening, but we can't really say what it was, unfortunately. So it's still a mystery to us even. And we are always kicking ourselves that our infrared cameras weren't running, because that would have been perfect.